Okay.
And I get to do my big intro. If I remember it correctly, I believe I say, hello everyone, welcome to Model Behavior, episode 2, where we, oh my god, I did not just forget my intro. Where we explore behind the scenes elbow grease of seemingly glamorous lives.
That's very cute.
Oh, thanks. Here with me, and you just heard her voice already, is my dear friend, Deanna. Please introduce yourself a little bit. Do you like your slate?
Okay, sure. Hi, I'm Deanna Shackle, 5'5". So I do commercial modeling. And I live in Atlanta now, but I live all the way in Atlanta now, and I'm very happy.
What's funny is I know Deanna as an actress, and I would consider you one of my most method actor friends, which is not a bad thing.
A little method.
Method in the way that makes sense, not method in the way that's like, if my script says eat a baby, you go find one to do that.
Right, I couldn't find enough babies.
Precisely. Meisner, safe territory.
Yeah, I'm into Meisner for sure.
Excuse me. So I actually know very little about Deanna's modeling career. I know she has one, and I know she started I believe you started in Orlando, correct?
That's right.
So real quickly, because I have so many in-depth questions for you that might, you can always say next. If any of my questions are too much, because you're like, oh, right, it's you, me, and the whole world that might be listening. It might be two people, and you and me, or my brother. But assuming this podcast goes somewhere, if there are any questions you don't want to answer, just whatever, say next.
For saying that.
Did you start with acting or modeling?
So I started at Disney, and I did Disney characters for quite a few years. And
who were you best friends with?
So I got to be best friends.
There are very strict rules at Disney. I'm sure she could do a whole other podcast about that, which I might have you on for. A whole other podcast series. But so I played Tiana. I would say I was best friends with Princess Tiana. I'm not allowed to say I played Tiana. So you didn't hear it from her, you heard it from me. So Disney, you can't get mad. I don't work for you. I didn't sign nothing.
Yep.
Real Deanna's safe.
I'm safe.
So you're best friends with who?
Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, I can see that. Deanna's beautiful, you guys.
Oh, man.
Obviously. I'm sure you'll all be stalking her Instagram soon enough. I'm going to make you plug your handle at the end of this podcast, too.
Will do. And Mary Poppins as well.
I'm so sorry. I'm just excited to have you. Just steamroll over me as hard as you can for the next hour, please.
No. You're making me feel so special that you want to be here.
I'm so glad. Yeah, you're gonna love her. Love her. So you started at Disney, and that was because you loved Disney, or you saw a way to stay home to your family and work over the summer, or what was your impetus to working for Disney?
Yeah, I was leaving college, and I actually was gonna I was going to become a public relations agent was kind of the dream, or working in marketing. And
I forget, you went to UF or USF?
I actually went to
UCF?
I actually went to Concordia University in Austin, Texas.
Oh, never. Yep.
So very close.
How interesting. What
very
a full
close.
circle. It was not close. Deanna's also very nice.
Well, for now.
So what brought you to Florida?
So I was in Florida. Yeah, I moved there for Disney. I was leaving, and I was finishing up an internship in marketing in Texas, but I was doing it for the show Grease.
Yeah.
And I was doing all the marketing side. So I was putting the signs out and getting everything ready.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hot gig, yeah.
Thank you. It was a hot gig to, put they wanted chalk on the floor that was this way to Grease. You should come here to watch Grease. And I got to know I wanted to meet Danny and Sandy after the show, and I was just what's it like? What is it like to be a full-time performer? Your life is so exciting and so amazing, and this whole thing, and it's kind of my dream, but I'm scared, And they said, well, it is amazing. And if you have something inside of you to want to do that, you should do it. Yeah. I said, well, there's this Disney audition next week. It's coming to town, but I'm still kind of nervous to go.
How did you find out about the audition? Just people were buzzing about it?
Yeah, I saw a poster up. I used to take ballet classes in Austin, and I saw a poster up. And I said, you know what? After the encouragement from Danny from Grease, I said, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. So I went to that audition to do Dancing for Cruise Lines, actually. But they pulled me out of it, and they said, yeah, we want to look at you for characters. So
did that scare you, or were you cool, perfect opportunity to learn how to do this? Or was it oh my God, I'm going to be a character and lose my mind? Because so many rumors, I read all the rumors about the characters literally start to think that they are their characters and go to therapy. Did you know any of that, or were you blissfully ignorant?
I was blissfully,
cool job.
Yeah, blissfully ignorant. And the thing is, that's actually a fascinating part of working at Disney, and I did it for 5 years.
Yeah.
So when I look back, especially in the first 3 years full time, I did spend more time being best friends with Sleeping Beauty or Mary Poppins than I did as Deanna. Like, put more hours in a day as someone other than myself.
Well, and I can imagine having hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people referring to you as, because I can say it, as Sleeping Beauty. I feel like that's probably, because I have no degree, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, anything, but I can imagine that's probably where a lot of the confusion ensues, is when other people all day are treating you like a different person and calling you a different name, and you're responding to it.
Well, and not just calling you that, but when they give you the way that they look at you, the way that, oh, please sign this. Oh, I finally get to meet you. And you're treated in this way that you're like, wow, I'm special. I'm special and important and appointment. Couldn't do any wrong in anyone's eyes.
Yeah.
So then it's weird what starts happening sometimes for people in their relationships is not addressing issues fully because it feels good to be so desired and to have no faults and no imperfections, right? You're in the ball gown now, so you are perfect.
It's like a fame fantasy without cons. It's like fame without the cons of crazy paparazzi. It's like sweet kids and parents who care. Wow.
Right. Or people said it's the type of famous that you can take off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they told us that in training, and I said, oh, yeah. But then you start living it out, and you're like, that is a weird thing. That is a weird thing that you have a celebrity status that you can remove and go to the grocery store.
Was this before they enforced all the characters play furry animals as well, or furry characters as well?
Yeah, so that's actually what you first do in training, and you go through that and have that experience too, which is actually just really cool.
Because you're a cool person, from what I understand. So for y'all that don't know, and the rules and regulations change all the time. Maybe by the time this comes out, it'll change again. But from what I understand, the characters are now required to play a furry character as well, such as like Rafiki or one of the lions from the Lion King or something, in costume, like the big furry costumes, because there was like a pretension, like a superiority complex with the people playing characters over the people in the furry costumes. So they've now required that the characters play furry costumes as well. That was what I heard. Maybe it's just like boring and legal somehow. But.
Well, and let's just call a spade. Like, we all know the temperatures in Florida. It's hot, right? So to wear any costume of any kind, whether it's what they call fur character or face character, either way, it's a job that requires a lot of dealing with the heat, right? So add that you have a costume where it limits your breathability, and that's tough. So it's also very humbling to go through and to learn one of the fur characters and have that experience. It is good for everyone, even though it's hard. I didn't see it that way at the time. I'll be very honest, is like, I just wanted to get out of that phase and go to I wanted to be a princess. And so, man, it was good for me to have that and to say, like, I had a very different respect for the people that did that full time without ever having to do that.
I have so many questions that I want to ask you, but I'm trying so hard to push back past the Disney thing. If you guys, Deanna, to come back and talk about Disney, you can give us a big, I've never done this before, like on iTunes, I believe, like comments on iTunes, just like help me. I'm new.
Help me, I'm new.
Help me, I'm poor.
And that, please send to my Venmo.
No, oh my God. But anyways, if y'all want Deanna to come back, show us some love, holler at her, and I think it's pretty obvious I'd be happy to have her back. So I have so many Disney questions, but moving forward, you were best friends with Sleeping Beauty, and it was awesome, I can imagine.
It was awesome. Like, the experiences of connecting with families, connecting with people was the best part. And there was challenges too, and we will address that on the next visit.
Yeah, girl.
But I'll say this. I'll say that, during the time, towards the end, when someone said, hey, I think you should really get with an agency and start to do some commercial work. Because I am 5'5", remember. That it was going to make sense for me to be more involved with commercial modeling. And I did get to do a little runway too, which was very fun.
That is unique too. And we touched on this, you guys. If you listen to episode 1, John Macheski, who models, was talking all about how he doesn't do much runway because of heights and how, you know, each modeling division is different, pros and cons. Like, we do touch on a lot of that in episode 1. I am going to bring in a runway model soon. It'd be really interesting to hear the pros and cons from their perspective. I'm sure you miss a lot when your primary focus is a certain branch. But yeah, so she's talking about the print ad modeling we discussed in the last episode, the commercial modeling.
That's right. And I'll say that when you first think of, man, it would be such a dream to get paid for what I look like, right? There's a phase where, you know, I think we all go through a little bit in our adolescence saying, I wonder if I'm attractive. I wonder if I'm pretty. I wonder if I could ever be pretty. And I really didn't believe that I was. I had horrific acne. Yeah. And really it was very clear in my mind that having people take pictures of me and making any kind of money off that was so far from my mind, so far that I was like, no way. Until my senior year in high school, actually. I was getting senior pictures done, and I was having the time of my life, and I couldn't stop smiling and laughing, and I was like, I feel so good, dude. I'm just having a good time. I really love this. And because I'm narcissistic, I love looking at the pictures of myself. Yeah. You know, I was like, oh man, but I think it's deeper than that I looked at those pictures and I was like, I look like the happiest version of me. Yeah. So there was
your best self.
Yeah, there was something in there that was a little bit addicting. And I said, you know, I gotta, even have trouble with my skin, I hope I can fight through that a little bit or figure that out, because it'd be cool to do this more. Yeah. And really it didn't circle back to any kind of work in modeling at all until after college. So really there was a huge break from senior pictures, which was nothing professional.
I love what you just explained about the senior pictures though. That's such an interesting seed to spark, the rest of your modeling career, which we'll get into. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. That's a huge break. So you proceed to explain. I just get it.
Well, I think I've never actually said that before. Yeah. I've never said that out loud. That's why was that such a cool experience? That kind of just popped up in my head now. That was man, maybe that was it. Yeah. But then the next thing was that, I didn't do any modeling of any kind in college, and just dancing and those kind of things. And then I sort of explained what happened at the end, internship into Disney, and then Disney kind of introduced me to commercial modeling world. Yeah. And signing with an agency and starting to dabble in that kind of work.
And so the person who talked to you, was it a colleague at Disney who was also playing characters and had representation?
Oh, yeah.
Girl, you got it.
It's Prince Charming.
Oh, really? Ooh, okay. Okay, again, if y'all wanted to come back and talk about your Disney experience, it's getting hot in here. Comment on iTunes, hook us up. There's gotta be a story there, y'all. You're not sitting with her. Oh, I'm also drinking wine, and she's not. Carry on.
But yeah, no, from there, so learning a little bit about the commercial industry was man, what is this whole thing? What is this, right? To start to have print ads and then the actual commercials itself is kind of what really started to get fun, because you would go on set and maybe you're playing Bikini Girl 5, or you're going on set to be mom, and it's mom with a whole family, and then you get to connect with a husband and kids, and I haven't had super long-term relationships, and so I have to say that within my work, it's been such a huge blessing to me to have the experience, even for a day, of what the long-term relationship connection could feel like, and get to play that out fully. Because I believe so much in truthful work, even in modeling. I believe that the best work will come from what's really true. Yeah, for me. So
I'm going to make you elaborate on that later. That answers a lot of questions that I had, because we talked about the fact that, so Deanna, she's kind of actor that really loves to sink her teeth into a role. So I can imagine a role I don't know, Ophelia, who a lot of people would find, you play that every night and you kill yourself every night, you freak out and go crazy and fall in love and get heartbroken every single night, to a lot of people very understandably would be, that's not their cup of tea. But Deanna would eat that up, She loves delving super deep into all the different facets of humanity, characters. We were just having a conversation about your favorite Meryl Streep. Yeah. The wine.
I love it.
Deanna, so your favorite quote from Meryl Streep.
Yeah, and I apologize if I butcher the wording, but, she said, I'm so interested in humans, I'm fascinated what it would be like to be you. Right. And yeah, that's something that man, I've thought about that a lot. I thought about that because I said, wow, if I really put my attention on, you know, if I'm playing a character, but I'm fully in that mode, in that character, and this kind of goes for me because I do commercial modeling, which involves relationships at times. It is able to apply for both, which is really unique. And then in my roles in acting, in the acting world too, where it's like, man, if I just know in my mind it's infinitely interesting to be Karen or to be Shelley or to be, you know, fireman number 2, whatever I'm doing. But it's like, man, what if I'm just infinitely interested in living that, being in that all the way?
Urgent message from the future. Upon launching this podcast, I've come to learn that the only way to keep the show going is if you guys rate the show on iTunes. I am offering a special episode lottery to those of you who mention in your comment that you'd like to be considered to be on the show or would like to suggest a friend. So if you want to support the show or have something to say on the show, rating the podcast would mean the world to me. That's the best way you can show me support. I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah.
And what comes out of that?
And I love that you just said that because I'm sure even you guys are aware, even those of you who are maybe not be super savvy to the entertainment industry, very often a lot of actors, commercial's not their cup of tea, not because they don't enjoy it often, but because something about ego, like they don't, that's unfair what I just said. I would say I think a lot of them just don't find the richness and the fullness of the experience. Like they don't feel like it's like, you know what I'm trying to say? What am I trying to say?
I'll say it this way. I was in commercial work for a while in Florida, and I said, okay, it's time for me to now level up. And at the time, I was maybe missing out on some of the really cool things that are also in commercial work.
Yeah.
Where now I'd be so thrilled to do both, all the above. Like cameras are rolling, I'm in my happiest place in the world.
Yeah. So
whether it's commercial or whether it's TV or whether, you know, like, I think certain things maybe could be classified as more difficult, and therefore we sort of give this name to it that you're leveling up as you move into episodic and narrative. You're leveling up when you go into feature film.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you are where you are. You're right there. And so if you are assigning meaning to something for yourself, you're assigning that meaning. And so whether that's commercial work or episodic narrative or feature film or stuff you're creating or whatever, you're deciding for you, like, okay, this is meaningful. And the moment that it's not anymore, that's when you know there needs to be a change.
Right. I love that you just said that. And it's like, it's a no judgment zone too, but you just solved a question that I've had for myself because I too love to sink my teeth into like the deepest, darkest, grittiest, you know, like branches of humanity. But I also love commercials. I book way more commercials right now than I do any of the other stuff I just listed. And I've never quite known how to explain to people why I still love, it feels very similar to being on set for any, you know, show or movie. And I think like the best way to explain it is like an example is I had like a line in a Hooters commercial. I was like normal girl and I like took a hat from someone. I was a NASCAR fan and I said like something about hats being a declaration of war today. And I think the reason it was so much fun is because like, no, it wasn't like, it wasn't a huge role, but I still was doing something I never do. Like, it was still a human adventure. I was still wearing NASCAR clothes. I looked like a different person. I felt like a different person. I was speaking in a dialect. I had to study up on NASCAR. I was a NASCAR fan that day. And that was, I don't know if I'll ever be in those shoes again. And the adventure was still there. It's the adventure of acting that I love, for all the reasons you just described. But I think you just solved that for me as to why I also enjoy commercials.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to really explain that. And I think you just did for me, which is great. Okay. But enough about me. Oh my God.
I love it. It's actually an honor to hear that's something that I would say would affect someone else.
I'm so glad I have all this on my podcast because everybody else may be having epiphanies as well. It's mine. So share, tell your friends. Oh my God, I didn't plug it all on episode 1, which was probably a mistake. Like the fact that I'm plugging on episode 2 might be a little too late. Help. Was it a tedious process for you to find your first modeling agent? Did you go through any, because that was your first like send off of like headshot resume. Like, did you get headshots? Was it a friend in the backyard with the camera? Like, what was that like?
So, quite unconventional the way that I really started. I was getting ready to, this is going to sound like I'm going way off track for a minute, but it is off track.
Please. This is my podcast. I would just like to reiterate that fact. Carry on.
I was really fascinated about New Zealand. I didn't know why at the time. I think I maybe saw some. Actually, you know what? It was my uncle who had traveled everywhere in the world. He said that was his favorite.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I want to figure out what's going on about why that's his favorite. And he said mostly because of the people. So I wanted to go check out New Zealand, but I had like a whole crew. Through another person, we got connected. The whole thing is that we're getting ready for this big fancy trip to New Zealand to go explore and be adventurers.
Awesome.
And during that time, there was someone else going on the trip that was a professional pogo stick artist, like a street busker, one of the best buskers in the world, I came to find out. But he literally does backflips on a pogo stick for a living. And I was like, no way. He calls himself a stunt comedian. I said, what is the deal? What's the deal? He said, well, I just put on a business card and started handing it out.
Interesting.
And I said, I feel, what's your thing? What do you really want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel like it would be cool to model, but it's not on my resume yet. And I don't know how to tell people, like, please tell me I'm pretty enough to get paid to be pretty.
And at the time, I know Prince Charming, it was like he kind of schooled you on the differences between runway and print ad modeling, but was there still a part of you that was, because you were fresh to the industry, was there a part of you that wondered too, and I'm not tall enough, Of
course, yeah. I mean, you don't realize that there's all these facets of the industry,
right?
Then it's kind of like, oh, I just crossed modeling off the list. And when I realized there's a whole commercial and print ad piece, you can use Apple boxes, whatever, to be different heights. I was like, whoa, crazy. So my friend said this, you should put model on a business card and start handing it out.
Yeah.
I was like, it really gives you this like, oh yeah, the power isn't the power is in my hands. Like the control is in my hands. I get to decide my destiny. I get to design my life.
Yeah.
And so, man, that was wild. That was wild. And so from there, I was like, all right, I guess next step is business card with model on it. I guess. And then that did start making a difference, because I would get booked for real small gigs and independent, if you will.
And you were with an agent now, so
yes. So that kind of happened all at the same time, where my friend said, get this on a business card and start handing it out to whoever you are naturally networking with.
Right.
At the same time, I was getting all my stuff out to a commercial agency. I didn't realize commercial agency would also provide all the modeling. That was so confusing to me at the time, that provides all the modeling opportunities as well.
Yeah.
So then it started some interfusion, all started coming together with, okay, working with an agency, they have these connections for opportunities. Plus, there's a lot I can do independently to let people know, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And then like stepping into those shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, no, I actually believe in myself and I am a model.
It's the old cliche, dress like the job that you want. As opposed to the job that you have.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy what holding a business card in your hand with what you believe you really are, what that does for you, what it does for your confidence is like, oh yeah, I can do this.
Yeah. Did you get like the 500 like deal, like the free? I did like when I first started acting out, like the free like 500 at one of the websites. I think it was Vistaprint. Like the first 500, and I still have cards from like who has 5. Maybe y'all are better networkers than I am, but I still have them somewhere.
Well, 2 quick things. I do have to give a shout out. I was dating the most amazing man. Still, he's such an amazing man. Jeff Kaler, a magician. He did magic in terms of the way that he supported me as well, and so he actually gave me business cards as a gift.
Wow.
And was like, he did a lot of things for my career and for my self-confidence and showed me a lot of things about myself that I didn't know I had in me.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. What a cool, and he's doing amazing things. So go follow him as well.
We'll plug that. Sure.
Yeah, man, I just, I feel really thankful to that, and Vistaprint. He might have gone that way. He might have gone that way with it. Yeah, he might have gone that way.
Whatever, a gift's a gift.
Yeah. Then the second thing is, I used to take my business cards out, and I had so many, I think it was the 500 or whatever, that I would also go out for a night on the town.
Yes.
And I may or may not have worn a blazer.
Yes.
And I may or may not have put plenty of business cards in it.
Yes.
So one of my friends would know me as the girl that would, be having a drink or having a nice connected moment with another person, and then says, slips on the card and is like, yeah, give me a call sometime.
Strategy.
Oh, and I was single at that time.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. What does it say about me? I was like, yeah, it's drinks, blazers, cards. Connections. Just even, I was so naive. I'm like, the platonic connection at a bar. Oh my God, yeah, we got to bring her back, y'all. So I have so many questions and so little time. From there, so I assume, how did you get your first agent then? So you had your cards, and it was when you decided, I am a model. Mm-hmm. Did you go about the traditional routes? Did you research them, you send them headshot, resume, cover letter? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I wanted to go ahead and apply for all the agencies, and someone told me they really enjoyed Central Florida talent. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, and sent in my stuff and traditional interview and that kind of thing.
Did they refer you, or just send out just being like, hey, and
No, that was one of those I like sent my info, and then they said, yeah, feel free to come in for an interview.
Nice. It's literally, in my opinion, we could do a whole other podcast about like getting representation, getting notice. It's literally fishing. Like, you never know when the fish are going to be biting and for what. All of your materials, referrals, headshot quality, etc. That's all bait essentially on your hook. You're never going to catch a fish if you don't send out a hook. And you hear crazy stories about fish seeing the hook and they're starving, and it's like enough for them and they'll bite. Even if you feel like you have nothing, I actually think you should get the experience in at least, because then you've learned how to do it and it's less intimidating. And sometimes you have the best bait, but if the fish aren't biting, it's a no-go. I too have gotten, oftentimes it certainly helps to try to stack that hook as much as you can. But I remember being shocked. I had one, that's a whole other experience we can get into, but I contacted one agency in particular when I lived in Chicago. At the time, it was like I had trained myself to always find that referral. And I just spontaneously, because I was mad and annoyed with my industry life. It was the shortest, most concise cover letter of my life. Headshot, resume, no referral during pilot season, which for those of you that don't know is the season where they're launching all the new shows. So agents are busy and they're trying to push the clients they've already groomed, and they already trust and already know. So very few, they're not going to be, it's not the time to apply for agents because they got their hands full with their own clients they have already. And then there's usually some sort of purge, clients that either, didn't do well or were unreliable during pilot season, etc. And then they see new clients in the summer, typically, for acting. I know this is a modeling podcast, but just FYI, this girl does both, so I'm just going to consider this relevant. But yeah, I submitted, and I got an email back the same day. It was a phenomenal agency, and said, we'd love to meet you. And I went in and did my thing, and they were like, great, you're signed. I never, if I hadn't been so riled up, I never would have sent that out. I would have waited for that referral. By the time I got that referral and had all my proper materials, who knows? Maybe they would have signed me, or maybe the fish wouldn't have been biting. And
I love that you said that. If you hadn't been so riled up. It was something. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I think I was actually fired from one of my jobs because I did a lot of gig work, and I love that one of the things Bob Goff says. He's one of my favorite writers. He writes the book Love Does, but he says you're not anybody until you're fired once.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that because I'm not meant to work for everyone. And I think there can be some guidance sometimes in learning who you really are. And yeah, just one of the things about that did give me some fire. It did give me you know what? Fine, that's it. I am going to send it out to every agency. I'm sending my stuff out to everyone. I'm putting it out there. I don't care. And they could say no, but I'm already hurting, so who cares?
Right.
And that's the thing that's interesting to get to that place. I think I will do so many things to protect myself from feeling that way, feeling hurt or getting down or getting, in the dumps. And it's man, sometimes being in the dumps for a minute is going to launch you to the next step. Yeah. And so I think to be open to feeling whatever it is you're feeling all the way, which is something I'm still really working on. But I think, if something gets dark and you feel that and you know why, and you can use it as motivation rather than dwell in the dark. Yeah. But you use it as why am I upset? Why am I feeling like there's not opportunities? Have I exhausted every option of creating opportunities? Right. And then sometimes that turns fine, I'm submitting to all the agencies. Fine, I'm submitting. I'm just gonna. What's to lose now? Yep. And there's something about having a moment of that where you hear. That's actually a really consistent theme in people's stories that have found great success in a variety of ways in life. That it's man, I was just fed up. I was finally so fed up. and then this, and then this happened, and then this.
Yeah, you just fired. All right, so you were just saying that you had been booking gigs already. So that was without an agent. You jumped online and had like, there for actors, there's Actors Access. Everybody kind of knows about that when you submit yourself to projects. So there were like Model Mayhem. Did you use Model Mayhem? That's a popular modeling site still.
I did, but the major thing was just through word of mouth and people
right?
People
And you
saying, hey, would you?
And you had just made so many instant contacts at Disney. Got it.
Yeah.
Right. So then you fired everything off. You got your first agent, and did you freak out?
To get my first agent, actually, no. I think I had so many questions at that point, and whether anything was going to happen, and I wasn't, it didn't start out as a great relationship or anything right away because I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know what standards to set for myself or anything. But I remember after like sort of a quiet year with them, I finally went into the office and said, I need you to know who I am because I really want to work and I really want to do this and I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I'm here to like do this full time. And from that moment on, things changed, right?
Yeah.
And that told me to never waste time.
Good for you.
Not doing that again.
Which is kind of what I'm seeing in your life right now, by the way. She has a lot of exciting things happening right now because she's a humble human. She like doesn't understand, but like I think we do. So carry on. Everyone can but you. It's fine.
Oh man. That's very kind.
You're slow as shit. So you're booking modeling gigs. What kinds of modeling gigs did you start off with? And was it like kind of culture shock? Was it new skills you had to build? Like what was the experience of modeling when you first got started?
Yeah, great question. Because right in the beginning, it was so wild, but my friends went down to Ron John Surf Shop in Cocoa Beach for a swimsuit modeling audition thing, and all I could see in my mind was like wet t-shirt contest. I was like, what is this? Like, it sounds like it could be trashy. I don't want to be that kind of girl. That like the image I had in my mind was like, I don't know. And I finally just said to them, they're like, we're gonna go, you should come. And I said, well, if we're going to the beach, like I'll bring my board and we can, I don't know, you guys can tell me when the competition's done or whatever you're doing, And they were like, okay, but just pack a swimsuit. And I was like, okay. So we got there and they said they didn't have enough contestants, and they were like, would you be willing to just throw on a swimsuit and give it a try? And I said, all right. So I did, and then I was in the top 3, and then I was in the top 2, and then I won the competition.
Okay, first of all, congratulations. I didn't know it. Not that it's like important to who you are, but like that's a great story. But it's important to me. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Did you get a bump in pay? Did you call your agents and be like, yo, listen, like things are happening. Like we're now representing harder than we initially intended. Like, was there any kind of bump in pay from the client? Or they just like, go get him?
No, because at that point, like what that contest like entailed was that you would be able to do a show, a runway show with that swimsuit line.
Oh, I understand.
And so that was kind of what the prize was from them. It was kind of a totally separate thing from my agents.
Got it.
But that was one of the best relationships. And then I went on to model body glove swimsuits for the next 4 years.
And that was your runway show.
Yeah, that would be like we would, for different stores that would sell swimsuits, we would have the swimsuits that we wore on the runway for them to select suits for the store.
Was it petite modeling, or did it just consider runway modeling? And they had were they all your size? Did they have tall women as well? Like,
great question. And this is one of my favorite things about it is like the only thing that matters is you had to fit the sample size suit. So there was a great variance in what the girls looked like, and everybody was beautiful in their own way, and that was really cool. Different heights and different sizes, but you just had to fit size small swimsuit bottoms and extra small bottoms, small top.
Mm-hmm. So that was a big deal. And I can imagine, did you then proceed to seek like bigger representation, or did you just proceed to get sent out on more gigs and you're, modeling and wearing clothes and doing promotional stuff, I can imagine?
Yeah, no, I mean, quite honestly, I was still a little bit terrified, and I still felt like I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. So because I was supposed to go to the beach to surf, and I won a contest that gave me a contract. So I was like, what is all this, right? And from there, I didn't go crazy into pursuing modeling super heavy. I think what it did lead to is understanding like, oh, cool, I can do brand ambassador for a lot of different stuff. I can do, there's all kinds of modeling, like promotional modeling.
So it was a really good educational experience for you, essentially,
Yeah, because then you start learning like, oh man, doing trade show modeling is a really fruitful endeavor, and it can be a lot of fun.
Right.
And I think it led to all that. Yeah, which was really good. Yeah.
So I have to ask, especially because you just mentioned sizes that needed to be filled for the bikinis, has weight, and then we talked about in episode 1 too, we had John, who of course is a male, on the podcast, and at the very end I asked everybody like, what's their favorite thing, what's their least favorite thing about modeling, and his was weight, like needing to regulate so specifically, especially for men, because he talked a lot about, like, I had mentioned there was a time he swung by the house and I said, you look fantastic. He had the broad shoulders, he had buffed out, he had been lifting, and he was like, no, I'm not fitting in the clothes. I have a runway show and I think maybe a month or two, and he needed to like slim down. He needed to slim down on the muscle, and that blew my mind because like he was slim. And so I was like, it's just so specific. Has that stressed you out? Has it been a challenge? Like, what has been your relationship to what needs to be a part of the modeling industry, even if you're a plus size model? Like, you're selling what you look like, and that includes body and size and weight. What has been your relationship to that? Has it been hard? And if it has been, how have you gone through it? Talk to me a little bit about that. And when did that kind of onset? Like, when you first got started, it was like, shit, I'm a model now. Or did that start to happen maybe when you weren't booking as much as you wanted to, or you were booking and they all had similarly strict, ideas of what a model looks like, and like what kind of just explain to me the depth of that relationship?
Oh, for sure. Please. Yeah, I mean, I'll be very honest that that my mom gave me a very crazy metabolism, right? And so like I have been able to have a lot of freedom in my diet, a lot of freedom in what I eat, and still be pretty fit and slender almost all the time, right? Without having to work super hard.
Right.
But to be able to keep my frame toned and to keep it muscular and to keep the things that I like, the way I like feeling about myself, the way I like to feel strong. I like to feel toned, right?
Yeah.
There is a place where it will cross over into like, man, I lost too much weight, or I definitely am seeing a little bit more of the back fat that I don't like when I put my jeans on or something. Like all those things that happen, I think are pretty human.
Right.
Like, yeah, when you're getting ready for a show, there's an added pressure of, man, now I got to look really good. I got to look really good. And so you start like doing a little bit harder workouts and paying more attention to that. And I think it's just about keeping that in check.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to eat a few more salads. I want to drink more water so my skin looks nice, that kind of thing. There's nothing wrong with any of that. If it turns into like obsession or maybe starting to talk negatively or feel badly about yourself.
That's a very good point.
I think that's where you got to check in and say like, am I in the right industry?
I love that you just said that. That's a very good point. Yeah. So at this stage, I just want you to kind of riff, like what came to mind when I said to you that I was going to bring you on for this podcast. At this stage, like we're not even looking at like order of events. Like tell me anything that came to mind that you would like to talk about, touch on, let them know. Because there's so much we could talk about. And what strikes you as important or interesting or, maybe still challenging or unique, anything at all that kind of popped into your brain when I said we're going to talk about your modeling career.
Oh, man. Yeah, actually, I love that you said that because, like, when you said you wanted to have me on a modeling podcast, it's going to sound crazy after doing several years of professional modeling that I actually said, oh, yeah, should I be on that podcast? Like, do I do that? It's like that's still in my brain sometimes where it's like, man.
And this has now been how many years since your first modeling gig?
Yeah, I mean, probably 7 or 8 or something along that. So it is a crazy thing, but I remember hearing so many times starting in college that people, they would hire people to come in that would say, like, follow your dreams even if it's scary, or do the big thing, really shoot for the moon, and all these like super inspirational, also slightly cliche things that it was like, yeah, but I want to do all that. I wonder if I'll ever be brave enough to do that. And then if someone would want to ask me about how I did the things that I did.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I still feel like in life, like, oh, I haven't arrived there. This is a really cool reminder that like, if you have an interest in something for real, you can go pursue it. And to some degree, people will want to know about the thing that you've gone after.
And there's value in that, right? You don't have to be Kendall Jenner to have a valuable experience to share about your career or your life, your story. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just that's a crazy thing to think about a little bit is, the initial thought of, well, I don't know if I should be on this podcast, but then it's like, oh, absolutely, because this is what I do professionally, and then just a reminder that, like, man, I want to say the same thing that people have actually said to me, which is like, man, if you really love something and you can't kick it, you just can't. It's like in you, you're like, wow, this is a little bit beyond an interest. I gotta know more about this thing. Then really, truly go for that.
Are you satisfied with what you're receiving from the modeling industry? Because I know oftentimes, especially, y'all know in the arts, like, we're really in my opinion, becomes a challenging industry. It's not so much the competition aspect, at least from my opinion. It's the fact that it's one of the only careers in the world where you'll put in excessive hours a week, and you will only see money if you're lucky for like a couple of those hours, And I wonder, like, so that's where oftentimes people feel cheated and get frustrated, because it's like, I'm putting in so many hours and I have a phenomenal work ethic, in any other job, I'd be seeing monetary value for this. And if I'm not seeing monetary value, then like, where is, like, it becomes a whole existential thing. Are you satisfied in your modeling career? And if not, I would love to know where you wish that maybe it could improve or could be better. And if you don't want to answer any of this, I know you have agents or representatives.
Oh, yeah, no. I'll be very honest about that, because for me, like, it's kind of a new practice that I'm working on in my church. It's called the prayer of examine.
Yeah. Which
is like stopping to look at where things are at and asking yourself, like, where am I connecting? Where do I feel disconnected? And so I'm starting to learn to practice that in all the areas of my life. And when I'm looking at my modeling career / now more moving into acting career, and they're kind of combined, it's I think what I'm really finding is, man, the more and more true to myself that I really am, I am feeling really satisfied. Mm-hmm. But that was what I needed all along, instead of wanting to satisfy everyone else.
Yeah.
And so, like, where that plays out for taking pictures, for example, I love that I went to a workshop recently, Drama Inc., shout out, because they're great.
Yeah.
And they said, when you're figuring out your personal brand, it is important that the pictures you put on your Instagram would reflect your personal brand. And the woman speaking said, I'm a very strong, independent woman that like doesn't take shit, and here I am to be strong and to say what I feel and feel all the way, and my pictures will represent that.
Yeah.
And if the picture isn't representing that, I'm not going to post it.
Yeah.
And that was such a cool thing to think about, in terms of like, man, so maybe I do pictures for free all this week because I got a couple friends with nice cameras, and I'm still modeling, and I'm still actually using it in a business sense. So maybe I wasn't paid for that particular picture, but I'm getting to represent who I really am, which first of all is satisfying. And number two, that now draws a much stronger connection and get hired for a role that's more connected to who I am.
So actually, I want to riff on that. Like, you've just taken this to a totally, I'm so happy with the place that you just took this to. Branding, right? And you were talking about, you mentioned earlier in the podcast, like, your senior pictures look like the best version of you, the happiest version of you. I know, like, myself included, branding seems to be like one of the hardest things for most actors and models. Like, there's so many us's in a day, like, that's not a word, but it's like, yo, listen, I'm gonna be different. I had back-to-back meetings before meeting you. One was like a conversation with my dad, so I was very different. Right after I got off the line with my client, who I was very different with. Right after I got off the line with, I'm creating a retreat with a nonprofit I used to work for, and we've had a relationship for a while. I had two people on the line there, and one was like a friend of mine that we've been like besties for a year, and like this year, there's so many different me's within this amount of time, that like, you wonder, okay, when it comes down to like examining that all feels very organic, as it should, at least in my case. It's like, I know some people, I do have some friends that, if I think read into that maybe more than they should flog themselves for, like, I think we all are going to act a little bit differently depending on who we're interacting with. It's just, it's called chemistry, or decorum, or, being socially apt. But all of this is relevant to the whole branding thing, because I know in my case, as well as many other actors and models, it's like, if I can be so many versions of myself and successfully, I would say my conversation with my dad went really well. My conversation with my client went really well. My conversation creating the retreat with 2 very different people went very well. And I had very different tones on each one of those conversations. And I would like to believe this podcast is going well. When you really try to break it down and say, okay, so what does this mean on my Instagram I should wear? How should I cut my hair? What color lipstick? And this applies to dudes too. What are my color schemes? There are so many questions as far as branding is concerned. Which one of those versions of yourself do you say, this is the me I want you to think of first? Well, how did you it seems like it seems to me, and maybe to the viewers as well, that kind of came naturally to you, kind of figured that out quickly, but we could be totally off.
Well, and that's because as soon as you ask the question, what is the me that I want others to think of, then I'm going to say, what's the you that you want to think of?
Yeah.
What's the energy that you like being surrounded with when you're alone with yourself? Mm-hmm. What are the things that actually make you feel energized and make you feel powerful, make you feel beautiful? What are the colors you wear that make you feel alive?
Yeah.
And then you start, spending time with that is never time wasted, because then to have images that reflect that are only going to strengthen knowing yourself and helping others to really know you. And some people say, Instagram, it's not that deep. It's not that deep, girl. And the thing is that it's it's as deep as you really want it to be. It really is that, if you want to start having your Instagram be, the vulnerability depth that you want it to. But I've been pushing more into that recently, and I've had a great response of, starting to share a little bit more intimate information, or trying to share things that I'm really scared of, or scared to do, or scared to try.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, the way that people have responded to that is that they feel more connected. They feel more connected to me. They feel like, oh man, instead of just posting a pretty picture, you're explaining everything it took to get there, or why you might feel self-conscious on this day and then great on another day, or whatever. I think it's man, we're all human, and that's what's connecting us.
Yeah, I love what you just said about branding, because I'm thinking to myself about, certain ideas that I've had, and often I didn't realize until you just mentioned that sometimes I doubt a certain image I would like to, you kind of just, the image I would like to, what is it looking for? Not portray, right? Because I immediately start thinking about, what about the people that wouldn't like that image? You think about from their perspectives, even when you think about, what makes me feel good, there's another part of my brain, and I'm sure many people's brains that are struggling with this, that immediately jumps to, what about the haters out there that don't love that color or that brand or that type or that girl, you start thinking, I think you just solved that problem,
Well, and the people that are hating are the ones doing less than you.
Well, and also, as far as, it's classic marketing, your demographic. So, if your demographic is literally you, this problem is easily solved,
Yeah.
And like you were saying, specifically targeting on you as a demographic, and then portraying that kind of, you're right, you're engaging other people to understand who you feel strongest as, who you like to feel that you are.
Yeah, and what thing involves risk for you, right? Within your brand, there's going to be a little bit of a vulnerability risk if you're really going to be speaking your truth.
Yeah.
If you really are. And that includes the images that you put out.
Yeah.
And so if you really start connecting with that, there is going to be a respect for that.
Yeah.
And thank God it's not from everyone. Thank God it's from the people that know what that looks like and feels like and smells like, because that's who you want to surround yourself with anyway.
You're absolutely right. I agree. So on her birthday, because I am tone deaf, I was asking her all the deep questions about family and life and career. And I asked her about so is this weird to your family? Are they supportive? And I know you're the only artist within your family. I specifically want to ask you about, now that we're talking about portraying an image and modeling in pictures, was there any pushback or concern from family or friends when, even bikini photos, whoa, she's wearing bikinis on the internet, and what's on the internet, it never goes away, and all of this is, it's all valid commentary, but obviously, I would love to hear you just riff on that for a minute.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because I was a well-known babysitter in the small town of Tomball, Texas. I babysat at my church and the whole thing. And yeah, I did become a professional swimsuit model for a time, you know, for 4 years. It was a pretty decent chunk of time. And yeah, if I posted anything, I mean, I was very limited on what I would post from the swimsuit stuff.
Yeah.
And I was holding back a lot because of feeling like I don't want to disappoint people. You know, I do have a very different take on that now, but because I had received messages of like, please don't forget that you're a role model to my daughter, and you know, those messages came through where it was like, oh man, I don't want to disappoint anybody.
Yeah.
And what I realize now is like, man, if I am really proud of what I'm doing, and I am proud that I've been able to swimsuit model and that's been in my life. If I'm really proud of that and I want to share that, that is something to share, regardless of, you know, I think within reason, you know the intent behind sharing something you're sharing or what it is that you're doing, you know. And I think that there's also a time and a place for keeping certain pictures private and not having them be a public thing. And like, I think that's where you check in with yourself and your truth. I think it's where you seek wise counsel from the people around you and say, you know, what kind of image does this put out if I shared this? And that's a great thing to be asking people that you trust, that know about content and branding and that kind of stuff, you know, like,
yeah.
I think it should never be about what other people are thinking in terms of, you know, the masses will be disappointed or they'll like this or they won't like this. You know, when someone really has the best interest, they'll sit down and say, okay, what are your goals?
Yeah.
Within your branding, within who you are, within the things you believe in, what are your goals and does it align with that? Mm-hmm. And then you choose to post or not post based on that.
Right. And your family was always supportive?
So my family is incredible. They're all amazing human beings, and I could go on and on about a whole podcast about that alone. It has been hard for them to connect with being a full-time artist.
Yeah.
You know, because that includes the modeling, acting. I also produce, I also write comedy.
Yeah. And do you side hustle? Or you do like, you know, waiting tables and
all those gigs. Mm-hmm. There's been many occasions where, you know, they've said, hey, there's a much easier life than what you're doing.
Yeah.
There is. There would be another choice where you could make really good money and you would not have to hustle and work so hard.
And I can imagine you love them still because it's coming from a place of love, but that's struggling because it's when I know in my case, I'm talking about myself again, like if I have, for example, I booked this huge gig, and I won't say which company, but it would have been thousands and thousands of dollars right before the holidays. Booked it, and everyone was just waiting for the confirmations about dates, and at the very last minute the whole project was scrapped. So everyone who was depending on that money, who booked it, we were told, no, you're not getting those checks. And somebody who I love very much called, and I told them I've actually, and it was a long time since I doubled down on, I thought the booking was a sure thing, and I shouldn't know that, I shouldn't think that, because we should know that until you get on set, anything can happen. But it just so happened, I'm human, and it just so happened that it would have been so perfect, and I felt so blessed, and it was taken away, and I just kind of felt sad that day. Mm-hmm. So when this person called, I was like, actually, my day, hasn't been great. I just feel disappointed because, I told them what happened. And their answer, because they love me, was, then quit. And I was like, that, I love you. I still love you so much, but I gotta hang up. Like, this isn't helpful. You can tell me anything. You can tell me buck up. You can tell me I don't care. Like, you can tell me anything. You can tell me, then just get back on it, whatever. You could have told me anything but quit, because quit is not helpful. Quit. I know you think you're being supportive because the intention is love, but it wasn't supportive. It was get out. It was unsupportive. It didn't help me. It didn't help me problem solve. It didn't feel like a team. It felt like this was one person who loved me so much, but they were on a different team,
Yeah. And there's something to be said for, well, what if it got really hard, and then what if you kept going? Mm-hmm. What if there was fear because something didn't work out and there was a severely unmet expectation? Mm-hmm. And then what if you stayed in the game?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
After you're knocked down, what if you stayed in? Yeah. And everything we've ever connected to as humans has to do with that. Why do we love sports movies,
Yeah.
Why do we connect with the characters in any film and anything in life? It's like, man, when it feels like there's no chance.
Yeah. Why do we value pushing through when they could just like solve their problem by doing something else? Yeah. Like there's value in that too. But why are we always so engaged by the people who push through? You're right. That's very curious.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's always good to check in and be like, man, am I really doing the right thing that has to do with where I want to be aligned?
Yeah.
And is it still true of me? And am I still in the right field? And you ask yourself that. And once you know that pretty securely, and granted that ebbs and flows and changes a little bit, but once you know that, then go.
Yeah.
And run hard. And when there's going to be times where it feels really, there can be some very lost and broken moments, but when you keep going and you have a support system around you, it could be your family. If it's not super strong within your family, maybe you find it in your friends. But you find who will be really supportive, and then you say, okay, we're going to do this. Like hell or high water, we're going to find a way to stick it out. Because it is going to be, even, maybe you had a certain goal in mind, maybe you make it there or not. Either way, it's going to be worth it because you fought so hard.
Yeah.
And you gave it your all, and you can get to the end of that time. You can get to the end of your life and say, I really gave it my all.
And not to something things you didn't do.
Right, to something I cared about. I gave my all to something I cared about. Whether I hit the goal based on everyone else's expectation of myself, I knew what my expectation was, and it was to give my all along the road that I was on.
Yeah. So I hate that oh my God, we only have 3 more minutes. All right, so there's a little game. First of all, anyone who has been listening in and feels like models are inarticulate, I think you've been like corrected quite ferociously today. So I do this thing where I have like 3 questions at the end of each interview. My first question is, what's your favorite thing about being a model?
Let's see. Well, the free bathing suits.
Yeah, so you do get the free clothes. I have so many models be like, that is a myth. You don't get any free clothes. Nice. How many do you have?
Oh, man. There was a time I had hundreds.
I'm so jealous. I have no bikinis. Okay, so the free bathing suits, that's awesome. Was it all Ron John?
No, well, so Body Glove is the actual brand that I model for, and they are very nice bathing suits. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't have anywhere close to that now.
Also, that's a lot of gigs. You modeled all those bathing suits?
Yes.
That is odd. Okay, y'all. If y'all didn't believe her before, like now we get it.
Thank you.
She's been doing it. Okay, so what do you say your least favorite thing about modeling is?
My least favorite thing would be sometimes working alongside people that are partnering in the work that seem to be that the industry has really broken them.
Yeah.
That it seems as though they've had a hard time finding their self-worth, and perhaps it has been deeply put into their image.
Yeah.
Right? And so that is heartbreaking because I've been there too. I've had moments of that too where it's like, man, I know that hurts. And I would give anything to be like, hey, if you're not happy within this, like, what could we do to talk about that and to move into something else? But that would be my least favorite thing because it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was a good answer. Very good answer. Not that there's like right or wrong answer, but like I get it. My final question is just like something that's just been kind of cool that you've like, random. It doesn't have to be related to modeling at all. It can be like, yo, I saw a cool hamster the other day, or like I learned how to play 3 notes on the violin. Like anything that's just been kind of cool that you'd like to share, have at it.
Okay, well, one thing about modeling, and I'll see if I can find one not related to, just for fun.
Do whatever you want on my podcast.
Man, I gotta be honest with you, I was not upset about the amount of hot gentlemen that I was able to work alongside. There would be times like walking into the room, or a mixture of, I did a Key West some Key West ads, and then Corona for a while, a bunch of different beer commercials.
Nice.
And I would walk in the room, look around the room, and be like, I don't know for sure why I'm here, because what I'm looking at appears to be chiseled Greek gods, men and women around me, that I just feel like I constantly was like, I don't think I quite fit that, but they would make me feel so welcome, and they would make me feel so important. That was a really, really cool thing. So I didn't hate the hot guys and the hot, fake boyfriends I had over the years. And then something completely unrelated. Man, I love jazz funk fusion.
Yeah.
With trombones music in New Orleans. The coolest music show that I've ever seen was in like this old creaky basement, ceiling kind of droopy, but like the house was packed and everybody was like grooving all the way to the trombone. And I don't know, it just popped in my head that was like a crazy fun experience.
I'm a project manager part-time for this woman who is, like self-made millionaire. And what I've come to learn is that she works smarter than anyone I've ever known. She puts in the least. She was telling me like she's trying to shoot for 20 hours a week of work. When you first meet her, you never would have known that, like, if she even asked me today, how do you delegate tasks? Like, I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. She's like, how do you delegate? But I was like, wow, how did she get this far? But I'm like, she got this far. What's kind of cool is like, it was so easy at first to be like, I don't know how I'm going to do, like, I love her as a person, but I don't know how I'm going to work for this, But now I'm like, nah, there's so much I have to learn here. This is a person who's obviously, she's kind of figured, obviously not everything out. I'm not saying like do everything she does, but like she's certainly figured out how to play the financial game. So that's kind of cool that like there's so much for me to learn in this place that I would not have expected to learn so much from. That's been cool.
And there's so much for you to teach, it sounds like.
Yeah, I guess so. That is, I'll just go ahead and say that that's like really cool. It's pretty cool. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. Y'all know on the next podcast.
That's right.
Yep. Okay. We have run over time because we love this woman. Plug your Instagram handle. Okay. I require you, and plug Jeff's.
Yeah. So Jeff is I am Jeff Kaler. He's great. Go check him out. He's doing really cool stuff.
How do you spell that?
IamJeffKaylor. He's an amazing guy. And then
the woman we've been waiting for.
Mine is Deanna Shakel, Deanna Shakel, Scheakel. Go check it out.
Okay, well, thank you everybody again for being a phenomenal audience. I mean, this is me not like ironically plugging. Like, for real, comment anything down below. We'd love to address it within the next podcast coming up. It's cool. It's cool to have all this power. It's great to have people on that I love and I think are fascinating and get to share their stories here. I'm happy. Are you happy?
I'm happy.
Great. Are you guys happy? Tell me in the comments. Yep. Gina just raised the roof. You didn't see it. Sucks for you.
80s baby, actually.
It's always hard to say goodbye. All right, y'all. Catch you on the next podcast. Show some love. That's the only way I can get like the next one's coming in. And I really appreciate you. So see you next time. I'll come out with some sort of cool outro so that this doesn't go on forever the next time. I'll have like music. Bye.
Bye.
That was the inspiring Deanna Shakel. Exciting things are happening for her right now, so be sure to check out her Instagram. Coming up next is a little change of format. I'm going to be having my friend Ryan Kaplan, who has nothing to do with modeling, interview me. I'm 5'6", so I've done like one petite modeling show, but
for those of you who can't count, 5'6" is actually really just 4'18". If that's easier.
Thank God for you, Ryan. That's the scary news, but the good news is you can show me some love on the Model Behavior iTunes, Model Behavior YouTube, Model Behavior Instagram, Model Behavior website. We are everywhere, and I'm dying to hear from you. You walk the walk, and we'll keep talking that talk. Exciting message from the future. We have a Model Behavior website, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You'll find photos and links of our special guests, as well as blog content and upcoming teasers. So I want to see community building between you guys. We have a lot of power in helping each other out, and always ask me any questions.